I'm going to be another annoying Jew again and respond to that with a story. I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass. I can tell you're pissed off, and no matter what I do, every time the conversation goes full circle to how I'm voting, and that's okay. Believe me, I know what adversarial shit's all about, and this doesn't constitute something I'm going to get angry about. I think it's a little sad, but that's about it. So, there's a friend I had. I touched on this before. Syrian nationalist. Born there, dad was like, his dad was like pretty influential from what I understand. Um, and he openly anti-Zionist. The first time we met, that we actually met, knew each other on the same basis, was right before I went to Israel, and poor bastard, I mean, he was almost crying. I was on acid at the time, and I tend to be very, hey, I'm your dad, talk to me kind of guy, even if I'm not your dad. And he's just really bummed. I don't know, what's wrong. We bonded because basically, long story short, he goes into how his father is just doesn't think he's very girly, by the way. Most people think he's gay. He's got like I don't know, 5 kids from like 3 different women. Um, Party animal type, but as Arabs are whenever they can break away. And my dad just doesn't think I'm enough of a man and all that. And I says, I talk to him. I'm like, your dad. This is just set up. I'm like, your dad, he thinks his dad hates him. And I'm like, I don't know your dad, but I don't think he hates you. I think he's just worried that you don't have what you need to survive in the world. That's all. And he expresses it like an Arab. I said that. I remember specifically saying that. He goes, I never looked at it that way. I'm like, I hope I help. We kind of bonded, and within no time flat, he starts writing on Israel, and I had just gotten back. And we argued, and it got very spicy at times. But at the end of the day, we were still friends. Finally, I get married. My wife is out here, and I'll never forget because he would argue with my wife too. And he's a softie at heart, but he's a product of where he was born in. You talk about 2 different universes, and the reason I argued with you on that is because I don't even use that word when I talk to his name is Samir. I don't even use that word when I talk about him. No, it's the same fucking universe. It's just a really fucking dark one he's from, as far as I'm concerned. There's only so much I'm going to expect of him. Oddly, he's a Trump supporter too. I'm not opening that can of worms now because it's too much. Because why would he? Well, believe me, he's not happy about some things. Uh, Goes back to the pandemic thing. Forget it. Anyway, we're at a party, one of those parties, the party house place. I mentioned it before, and you know, my wife and I are just kind of we're rolling. If you know who they go, I know you don't do drugs, so you might not. We do from time to time, and he comes to the door. The guy is such a sweetheart at heart, and this is one of the reasons why I do my best to separate the person from the ideology. And he says, "Could train out," because he'd always wanted to be her in person. He's also a spaz. He's like, okay, 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 okay. But I just want to say, okay, I think you're fine, and I'm not a Zionist, okay, and you know that. But I think the Jews are fine, and I'm like, and I don't support Hamas. This is long before this happened, long before this year or last year. This is like 2021, and I'm like, Samir, shut the fuck up and lay down here with us. I don't give a shit at that time. You're saying, yeah, but you don't talk to him now. That was after October. I believe it was November when I told him to take a hike. And it got very spicy with us. Now, with the things we said to each other. Now, I'm going to wrap this up. I want this to be short. Plus, I got to go pick up my wife. Even with him, after the war is over, God willing, soon, I'm still open to talking to him. But we have no business talking to each other. Now, that was my point. Okay, my point with you. Emotions were too high. We couldn't talk to each other without insulting each other. Okay, Samir. I forgot to finish the story. Samir was a Syrian national, very patriotic. Therefore, he hates Israel. Therefore, he wants Israel. eradicated one way or another. And I feel that if that's how Syria feels, Syria should be eradicated until they either stop and find something else to do or what. And my wife, well, she was my inspiration in many ways. So here we are hanging out like we're best friends in the world. And I used them as an example for the woke in our scene. And we have many. I owe them so much. They helped make me relevant in my scene like no one else could. I never dated of anyone of particular value. I never helped organize an event, not until this year yet, So, but anyway, and I used, and some of these woke people have gotten to be my friends despite everything else. And we don't avoid the topics too. We do argue. And I've said that's my wife, hardline Zionist Israeli soldier, IDF. Um, in group preference, if you fuck with her country, she don't care if you die. He's the same way, and he wants Israel to die whether they fuck with Syria or not. They're friends. They're friends. Now later that wouldn't be the case because of the war. But I'm like, if they can hang out like this, I don't want to hear about how somebody triggered you because they misgendered somebody. And that's it. That's my story. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't mind being insulted. I mind when somebody starts. It's too much to get into as to what he did. It's bad though, and he might say the same thing. Um, the other reason why I'm saying that he and I can talk when the war is over, as far as I'm concerned, can talk when the war is over, is because the tensions aren't going to be as high. You have you have more tension, and whether you think there's anything wrong with this is up to you. I'm going to leave my own personal opinions about this out. You can figure it out, though. I'm very stoic in my worldview. At least I try. So emotions not something people should are something people should strive to control, especially anger, sorrow. No, anger and well, whatever. It's not important. My cousin loses his shit every election cycle. We're still close as we can be. We can live this far away, but you know, I one of the virtues I've helped cultivate throughout. One of the virtues I have focused on cultivating is keeping my emotions under control. That's not everybody's cup of tea. Highly important to me. Now, if you remember me as a kid, I cried at the drop of a hat. More than most boys would at different points of my childhood. The kids that are like that often grow up to be, and whether that's because we make a conscious decision, I don't know. It's not. The point is, I don't. If you're worried about getting pissed off, ask yourself why you get pissed off. I mean, is it everybody that votes a certain way, you know? Or are you genuinely afraid? I'm asking you this question, and maybe it's better you don't answer it until after the election. And you can't answer this question even to yourself until you really get some time to think about it. Are you angry at me for what I'm doing, or do you? Because I notice you get pissed off. First time you got pissed off, but you get pissed off every time I explain my point, or about every other time. This is why. You might genuinely be afraid. This is your own introspection. I'm not making an assertion, but introspection is a healthy thing. Do you fear not agreeing with me? I'm not asserting that you would, but if you talk to somebody long enough, you will understand why they do the thing you despise. Now, some people do it because they're sadistic, do this or that because they're sadistic. Some people are genuinely evil. You already know I'm not. You know it as much as you're ever going to know it. We could talk every day for the next 20 years. I believe you know it as well as you would know it 20 years from now. You know me. You knew me as a kid. You know, I wasn't. I didn't have enough of a sinister impulse, in my opinion. I try. You know, the point of the matter is you may genuinely be afraid of understanding me and by extension other people with my point of view too much, and that might be something that you're uncomfortable with. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not making an assumption, but I do know what it's like to have that impulse. I do know what it's like when I argue with somebody and I walk away with that fucking grain of truth, that fucking pain in the ass grain of truth, because you talk to somebody long enough, it's very unusual. It's very unusual. You won't find at least a grain of truth in their psychosis. Once in a while, you'll find out they were completely right. I'm not making any assertion that you would, but you almost always will find. I found a grain of truth studying Holocaust denial. It's grain, it's tiny, you're not going to taste it in your food, but it's there. Still is Holocaust. But the people who deny it, when they talk and they have this little thing. That grain of truth is usually how they seduce people into it. Cults do it too. Every cult, almost all of them, has a grain of truth they base their shit on. You may genuinely fear that grain of truth in what I say. Of course, I believe most of what I say is true, or I wouldn't say it. Well, I believe everything I say, I believe to the best of my ability, but I'm not asserting that I am wrong about something. Of course, I'm wrong about something somewhere. I say a lot of things. You know. That is for you to not necessarily answer me. You don't owe me shit. You really don't owe me shit. You don't owe me shit. Might be good for you to contemplate that since you talk to me probably more than you talk to anybody who is voting in the direction I am. However, I will say I'm kind of an oddball out because I don't know how many of the people are going to be voting for him for this reason. They have different reasons. That's why I talked about the camps. Touched on that. Okay, Brian, I'm going to leave you alone now because I got shit to do. But hey, ire aside, I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope you don't stop talking to me. If you want, we can. I wouldn't mind talking. You're probably too mad at me to do that. At the very least, I hope we talk after the election. At the very least. Anyway, wish you well. Hope your kids are good. Hope your family's good. Oh, and I'm not editing this because I ain't got time. So I'd rather post it now than later.